Hello everyone, my name is Katie Clow and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Guelph. Today we're going to explore the One Health approach with specific emphasis on the current pandemic. One Health is defined as both a concept and an approach. As a concept, it speaks to the interconnectedness of human health, animal health, and environmental health. And we can have things called One Health issues that arise at that intersection. As an approach, it is a collaborative effort of many disciplines working locally, nationally, and globally to attain optimum health of humans, animals, and the environment. So health along a broad spectrum. Foundational tools for One Health include systems thinking and transdisciplinarity. So these are not tools unique to One Health, but they're very important in the application of One Health. Systems thinking is essentially not just looking at a few little factors involved in the issue at hand, but thinking about all the interconnected elements and processes related to that issue to really get a fulsome understanding of the situation. Transdisciplinarity is when we bring together lots of different perspectives, different expertise, different roles, and together we can generate new knowledge and understanding for the issue at hand. One Health is frequently applied in the context of zoonotic disease, or zoonoses. Zoonoses are caused by pathogens that can be transmitted from animals to humans and back again. Of all pathogens, about 60%, of all human pathogens, about 60% are zoonotic, and approximately 75% of all recent emerging infectious diseases that have caused large human health issues were of animal origin. And this diagram just illustrates the range of different zoonoses that exist, from termed here stage 1, as the example of rabies, where the animal is always required for transmission to the human. So rabies transmission occurs from an animal to a human, and there's no human-to-human transmission. But we can move all the way up into a precursor of the current HIV virus, which originated in animals, was transmitted into humans, and then evolved to sustain human-to-human transmission. And so if we think of our current SARS-CoV-2, the causative agent of COVID-19, it originated in an animal source, but now has sustained human-to-human transmission. Zoonotic pathogen emergence generally occurs when a variety of factors combine to create favorable conditions. And this can be a complex set of interconnecting factors that aren't obviously linked to begin with. And so we know that many of the key drivers for zoonotic disease emergence include globalization, agricultural intensification, bushmeat consumption and other types of wildlife trade, climate change, land use changes such as urbanization and deforestation, and socioeconomic change. And there are lots of reasons why these factors may foster zoonotic disease emergence, including providing increased opportunity for wildlife, human and domestic animal contact, putting wildlife populations under increasing stress, and thus shedding of pathogens, also changing immune system function, and leading to transportation of pathogens to new areas with naive hosts. And the list can go on. In a recent study conducted by Allen and colleagues, they found that the greatest impact on emergence events included areas with high mammal biodiversity, large land use changes, particularly those associated with agriculture, and then areas with lots of tropical forests. So if we think about the current pandemic, we can look at some of these interconnected factors to begin to determine how the virus may have emerged. So although the emergence of SARS-CoV is still largely unknown, there are some interesting theories with mounting evidence. And we can explore some of these in this diagram. So we know that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is a combination between a bat coronavirus and another coronavirus, and that the reservoir is most likely certain species of bats, particularly horseshoe bats. Coronaviruses are not easily transmitted from bats to humans, so we know that we need some sort of intermediate host. Originally, it was thought to be snakes because of the genetic composition of the virus, but that's largely been disproven, and now the top candidates are the pangolin or the bamboo rat. And there are a few theories, one that the virus actually emerged in Wuhan, and another that it emerged in a different spot and was transported into Wuhan. So if we look at the Wuhan theory, we know that there's a large population of bats in Wuhan, particularly around the Yangtze River Bridge, where there are lots of green and red lights to attract them and areas for roosting. This bridge isn't far from the seafood market where many of the initial cases were traced back to. And bats really like this market. They're attracted to the green lights. There's lots of insects for them to feed on, and lots of areas to roost. We also know that this is an area of high wildlife species density. Many of these species are still alive. They're under tremendous stress, and so it creates favorable conditions for pathogen transmission. And so it's believed here that the virus could have been transmitted from bats, either directly to the intermediate host or via feces or other sort of excrement from the bat to the intermediate host. Then that intermediate host facilitated transmission to humans. The other theory is that this happened in another location, most likely Zhoushan, which is an area of high bat population, where there's also lots of different breeding colonies and breeding areas of bamboo rats for consumption. And this has grown over the last couple of years as a popular source of food for sale in these seafood markets. And so it was believed that transmission occurred here. These rats could have been transported into the market and then facilitated transmission to humans. Another thing to note here is that although we're looking at transmission to humans, humans can transmit back to animals. And there's several examples of this happening in cats and mink, but the species list of potentially susceptible species is quite long for both wild and domestic animals. And it's these species that have that ACE2 receptor that allows virus entry into the cell. The other things that we need to consider here are some environmental conditions. This is an abnormally cold and dry year in Wuhan province, and this can really facilitate coronavirus survival, and it can also dampen human immune response. And so as we see, we have an interesting combination of factors that may have contributed to the emergence of SARS-CoV-2. What we can do is look at all these intersecting factors and use our current pandemic, as well as previous pandemics, including SARS, MERS, Ebola, and think about them from a One Health perspective, particularly in the context of pandemic preparedness and prevention. And so that will be the focus of the session today.